oil. So 1 kilo of hair, natural animal hair, can absorb 8 liters of oil.
Pourquoi vous faites ça en fait?
Unfortunately, my kind of hair is of no use to people in Mauritius. Now, thousands of anti-government protesters returned to the streets in Mali Tuesday, resuming their months-long push to topple President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, who they accuse of presiding over corruption and impunity in the country. Demonstrators gathered in Central Square in the capital despite rainfall and pleas from mediators to stay at home, with many blowing plastic vuvuzela horns and brandishing anti-government banners. "We want real change in Mali. IBK, get out," read one, referring to the president's initials. The gathering marks the first time the June 5th movement has staged a protest since July, when the opposition group declared a temporary truce in their campaign to oust Keïta. The group has channeled deep anger over a dire economy, perceived government corruption, and Mali's 8-year jihadist conflict. Keïta had put in place an oligarchic and plutocratic system of predation based on corruption and impunity that had destroyed Mali, the movement, named after the date of its first protest, said in a statement. They say numbers don't lie, and in Kenya, numbers are telling a disturbing story about men when it comes to COVID-19. More men than women are getting infected and dying from the disease. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has told men to shun the culture of acting macho and disregarding the containment measures. Here is his man-to-man plea.
Men continue the lead with 539 men against 188 females. We must honestly ask ourselves as men, what is going on? How can it be that almost 540 of us, against less than 200 women, have gotten this virus in the last 24 hours only? And therefore, we need to address it. I think you will find that in terms of care, in terms of using masks, in terms of social distancing, women are just being that much more careful. And I know there might be some macho-ness, kuwa mungwana, kuwa mtu mkali, uonyeshe una nguvu, wewe huwezi kuvaa mask. Mimi ni fellow. Wewe ni fellow, mkali sana. If it was in the Wild West, you'd be slinging guns. You will die. Utakufa na hiyo ufelo yako.
Okay, we're taking the cue from CS Kagwe this morning to focus on men, and especially men behaving badly in this season of the pandemic. To help me in this discussion, I have a few people who have a few thoughts about this issue. Tom Ayeko is a youth mentor and sports coach who joins us from our newsroom studio on the 5th floor. I have with me Benjamin Zulu, a counseling psychologist and life coach. We're also joined via Zoom by Mike Washira, a human rights lawyer and advocate for equality and social justice, as well as Muthoni Gadesha, psychologist, educationist, and actor. So that's my panel. We welcome your comments and your questions regarding why men do what they do. But first of all, let's pick up with where, maybe I'll start with you, Benjamin. Now, Kagwe says we act macho in the end when it comes to death. That doesn't help us too much. According to you, why do you think that more men are possibly getting infected or dying even from COVID-19, in your view?
You see, Joseph, what is happening with COVID is not new. It has been happening with men. Every other disease kills more men, most of them. If there's an outbreak among babies, it's the boys who are swept more. You remember the XY versus XX. Let me take you back to Form 3 biology. The Y chromosome is weaker. the girl has 2 exes, the boy has only 1 ex.
Right.
And why carries funny things like beards and my head and yours?
With no hair at all.
You know, it is to say, apart from being biologically more predisposed, every other place, men have this callous recklessness, an assumption of strength or an assumption of immunity, you know, and that, you know, kangumu, lions shed no tears, you know, and then we begin to, it's all of it is stubbornness, all of it is ignorance. Women are being told, watch out for the ego of your man, take care, the ego. And when I try to break it down, I say, all this we are calling ego is pride. It's really being out of proportion with reality. And there's a scripture, you must have gone to church at this point. It says that stubbornness is like the sin of witchcraft. If you refuse to acknowledge truth, you put yourself in harm's way and die sooner. That's why we have more families now. It's the women who are leading. Men die ahead. Actually, if you go to the West, if a man is taking a loan, they want a guarantor who is a woman, especially your wife, because they expect her to outlive you. Okay. It's actually in the market that you have more older women out there in the villages than older men. Because men also expose themselves to drugs. They consume drugs more. Men take more alcohol. It's men who gamble more. In the army, it's men who fight with guns. It's men who do terrorism. It's men who expose themselves to more harm. So COVID is only highlighting what I'm happy the discussion is out now in the open, because I've been screaming this. The few of us who are life coaches and professionals, we have been screaming this and nobody's listening. Okay. Now at least the figures are bringing the discussion to the table.
Okay, Benjamin, asante sana. Wow, men in trouble. Mike Washira, what are your thoughts? Hello, Mike, can you hear me? Unmute, yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, and good morning. I think my thoughts are that, one, the men's attitude definitely plays a really serious role in terms of putting them at risk of contracting not just COVID-19, but other diseases as well. And if you look at the attitude that we have, well, not most men generally look at disease as something that, you know, you can, unaweza vumilia, you can withstand, especially if it's something like COVID-19, which most men perceive to be just like the common flu. And so that attitude definitely puts them more at risk, because you tend to disregard some of the things that you could do to keep yourself safe. So for example, men would be saying that, you know, I just have a bit of flu symptoms, I'm not going to stay at home, let me go out and hustle and, you know, make bread for the family, which is all well and good. Women are doing the same thing, but men's habits put them more at risk. So even if you look at the masking habits that a lot of men have, and Kenyans in general, first, you know, people are putting their masks under their chins, on their foreheads, and you're wearing masks because you're more scared of the consequences of being arrested or being taken to an isolation facility than you are about getting COVID-19 or spreading it. Second is nutrition. I think men generally don't have, you know, good nutrition habits. We don't eat a lot of fruits. We don't generally eat, you know, as well as most women would. And we don't take nutrition very as seriously as we should. And other habits, for example, like smoking and drinking, increase the risk factors of men to contract diseases like COVID-19. So a complete disregard of, you know, our own health is putting us at risk. Also, things like just hygiene. You know, you'd be in a toilet somewhere and you in a public space, and you will see a lot of men will come in and do their business and leave without washing their hands. And, you know, these are some of the things that, you know, the health experts have been talking to us for the longest time about sanitizing, about washing hands, and the possibility of, you know, contracting the disease, because if your hands are unclean, you're touching surfaces frequently and then touching your face, you're, you know, more likely to be able to contract the COVID-19 virus. Okay. And so these are just some of the things that are putting men more at risk. And then just the general arrogance that men have, that something as, you know, something that seems like a flu cannot put me down. You know, I'm a man, so I'm waiting for something bigger to come and take me out. So, Mike, the common cold.
Thank you for that. Stay with us. Now, this issue is so serious that we brought on board 2 psychologists, not just one. We have Benjamin here, but we also have Muthoni Gadesha. Muthoni, good morning. Welcome to Your World. Your thoughts on us men?
Good morning, Joseph. How are you?
Very well, thank you, and welcome.
Thank you. Many times I say that we can't really want to have, because men in our society have been socialized to be macho. I mean, you bring up children, two children. I'm a mother myself of two young adults, and I will allow my daughter to cry, but I will tell my son, don't cry. You're supposed to be a man. You're supposed to be tough. So a lot of times we socialize our young boys not to show emotion, that emotion is supposed to be for children, that emotion is supposed to be for women and children. I mean, how can you cry? It's not manly to cry. But then, as a psychologist, I look back and I say that is an emotion, because if you're feeling pain, if you're going through something, then of course there should be a way in which you release your emotion. Most of the time, what happens is that men tend to compartmentalize things. You know, they fold things in little boxes and put them at the back of their heads, fold things in little boxes. But then there's only so much that the human mind, as much as it is resilient, there's only so much it can take. And what happens is that if you're not able to deal with something in the mind, you don't have solutions for it, and you keep storing it, putting things away, it's bound to explode. And then, unfortunately, when it explodes on the physical. So that if you're not able to deal with it mentally, it manifests itself physically. And then that's when we find that people become more vulnerable, more susceptible, and their immune system goes down. When your immune system goes down, here comes COVID, it'll hit you and drop you like a hot cake.
Okay, Modoni, let me pause you there. Thank you very much indeed for that illustration. Let come to you, Tom Ayeko. You are with the men's ministry of Sitam Buruburu. You are a coach of young people. From your experience of working with young people using sports, are they showing at that age the things we're trying to fight at our age?
Yes, for sure, we are having challenges there because there's competition among them who can do the most bravado thing. And it is costly if you're doing the wrong thing, actually. And that's why we are trying to guide young fellows to find a proper focus and a way to release this bravado that they have. And the peer pressure should be more positive, because peer pressure will always be there. We're trying to make it positive. What scares us the most is that what they measure themselves against. If you measure your against something that is floating, it's not fixed, we are having issues. So we're trying to introduce some absolutes that they can work with. And we find this in the Bible, of course. That's where we find all our training material. And then we suit it to them. We just design it so that they can pick from there and be men who compete, but compete in the right manner. They should be men who are brave, but with wisdom. You don't just do something because somebody else is doing it, but you're doing it because God says this is the right way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. Don't do this. So if you compete in football. It's positive. But if you compete on who can kiss the most girls, then you've missed the path. So we're just trying to put advice and put some guidelines. Of course, it has to be done with a lot of love, because men, we are very, I don't know, we are resistant to anything that tends to constrain us. That's why you're seeing people running off to bars. You get married to a beautiful woman. After 2 years, you feel it's a constraint, and now you have to run out with your boys. While in the beginning, it was planned for the guys to live in a certain orderly manner. This is your wife, one wife, live with this one. Man, protect your wife. Man, provide. at the end of the day, you find that you live a more productive life that way.
Okay, Tom, now I'll come back to you for a little more explanation. Now, Benjamin, what is it about the socialization of men that almost predisposes us to, to the kind of situation that we're dealing with right now?
You want to know that when young men finish teenage, after 19, they enter stage we call young adulthood. In young adulthood, they're in college. They finish college around 23, they're about 22 to 24, they're about. When a girl, women at 25, there's a prefrontal part of their brain that is responsible for feeling and reasoning for both genders. Therefore, when they get into love relationships, they can think straight, girls at 25. But men, at 25, the brain has stabilized, but socially, he is not yet ready to settle in any family setting. All the way to that, most men are just exploring. So, Kenyans' demographics, we are more, young people are more, it's larger numbers. So that group of 25 to 30, there's a stage called wild exploration. They go wild with alcohol, with the drugs, with the girls, and they feel a need. Many of them are beginning to taste freedom. They're just out now from college, they're beginning to do some hustle. Some of them are gotten jobs, some of them are very bright, so they have some money, some freedom. It is that wildness that wants to refuse any order and structure. So the socialization of 25 to 30, because it's a huge chunk of our population now, and many of them are very predisposed, is that when you remove alcohol, it's like they feel like a part of them is being removed, because I wanted to explore. There's another group that is spiritual, that goes to church and preaches. That group at this phase, they are obsessed with the crusades and singing and art and producing and doing events and doing something. So there's that stage of young men, 25 to 30, which is very restless. Now, when you ask them now to stay to social distance, to hide mask, you are removing the very thing that felt like the gist of their existence now. And I've given them a solution. The solution at this point is not to suppress your urge to expand, because it's really an urge to expand. They just do it wrongly, but it's a natural urge to do more, to explore more, because our education system is wired from abroad and coming to be pushed down our throat. In fact, next time, let's discuss that. We have a lot of unemployment because we don't prepare people for to employ themselves. We prepare them to be given, not to give. So part of that urge is to now go online. I tell them, luckily for you, Corona can't go online. So you go online now. Just now take photos, show what you can do, code your stuff, develop the website, go online and do your things. In fact, you can still connect, network. We can Zoom meeting, we can do video calls. So I tell young men, don't think you're being constrained. It's just economy has not stopped. It just changed the shape.
So your freedom is still there?
But it is there. It just has changed. In fact, if you're being taught, we have put Wi-Fi, men, work from here. This is what we were looking for before. In fact, our generation, this generation that is now, it's born into technology. They are very savvy in technology. And I tell them, given online, you can do much more, 10 times more than you'd have done physically. If now people, even radio people, are doing their work from home, you have been brought microphones where you are. Just work from there, man. Meaning you can work, take some short breaks. You don't have to travel, no traffic, no nonsense. This is a better time for those who wanted to expand.
Okay, man, I hope you're listening. Now, Mike, men have been hunter-gatherers. What are we still hunting today? Hi, Mike, can you hear me? Please unmute your...
Sorry about that. Yes, it depends on what you're hunting for. So this is my own thoughts on this issue, that our socialization process from culture to tradition and religion, since back in the day, has socialized men to believe that we perform the role of protector, provider, manager of resources. And so since back in the day, that has traditionally been the role of men, that you have to go out there to hunt, whether you're hunting for meat, that was back in the day for food. Now you're going out to hunt for resources because you have to, you have a family to take care of. And because you're the one who's going out there to, collect the resources or to gather the resources, by that function alone, you are the one who becomes the manager of the resources and hence the decision maker. And so that's something that has, men have been socialized time and time again from, time immemorial. But now what's happening now is that you're finding that these roles of protector, provider, manager of resources are sort of being performed by both men and women in households. So you'll find, there are men who have no jobs. And so, you can't go out to hunt for resources because you have, you don't have the wherewithal. And so women are performing this role more than men nowadays. So what's happening is that we're still being socialized to believe that we must perform that role, that you can't cede that role to your partner to go and do while you stay at home and do something else. And so by that very nature itself, most men still feel that they must perform the role of, protector, provider, manager of resources. And so you find that, there's that pressure to be out there to make that money, to get those resources. And so by that alone, a lot of men feel very restless when they're in the house. And especially in a situation like where we have COVID-19, where you're expected to stay at home, while your mode of, resource gathering is to be out there, then, it presents a challenge. And especially to people, for example, who are in the informal sector, or people who are living on a day, where you can't do a Zoom meeting and bag a contract. You have to be out there, in the mjengo. You have to be out there in the informal sector. You have to be out there doing the things that you do. And so that socialization process, but also the reality of the fact that you cannot sit at home and make money from home, is sort of putting the pressure on men to just be out there looking for resources. Okay. I don't think, in fact, if you were to think about it, I don't think majority of the people who might be spreading the disease are doing it in bars or in restaurants. If you're thinking about the informal economy, if you go to the CBT itself, you'll see how packed it is. People are out there trying to make a living because you're somebody who makes 200, 300 shillings a day. You have no way to make that sitting at home over a Zoom call. You probably don't even have internet. You don't have bundles. You are selling charcoal. You are selling fish by the roadside. You are in a construction site. You are doing retail business. You have to be out and about.
Okay, so
for me to think,
Mike, let me pause you for a moment, and I come to you, Mudhani. Let's address this concept of kaa ngumu. Why do men feel that this whole idea of it's okay not to be okay? Men feel no, I don't have feelings. Lazima ni kae ngumu.
Yeah, as I said earlier, many times it's because of the way in which we are socialized, that men, you are supposed to behave in a certain manner because that shows you are a man. However, in the same vein, what I've realized that has happened over time, especially over the last 5 months when we've been experiencing the COVID, is that many of us do not even realize exactly what it is we are going through. And I remember yesterday when we were talking with you, Joseph, I said to you that the nation or the individuals, as it were, are in grieving. When you lose somebody who's close to you, or you lose a job, or you lose, you get lost in a relationship, or a relationship breaks down, what happens many of the times is that we all go through a grieving process because we've lost things right now. We've lost our freedoms to socialize, to have that boys' day, night out, going to watch, Premier League and so on. The things that men, valued, that coming together like a herd, to sort of, this is us, this is what we do together. So a good number of people are in denial. And denial is usually the first stage of grieving. A good number of us are in denial. We are saying it is not there. This is not, the disease is not there. There are people to date, 5 months down the line, with the number of deaths that we have and the number of cases that have been reported, it's not there. Nikahoma tu, mimi sitapata, that kind of an attitude, which shows that somebody is in denial. And then now from denial, what is happening, a lot of people are getting angry. We're angry with everything that is around us. We're angry with China, we're angry with the government, and this doesn't help the situation. So in a bid to try and come to terms with what is happening, you expose yourself, or you now do acts without prior thought, not thinking of how you can endanger your body. And then again, lots of the times, men tend to not listen in to what is being told to them. Wash your hands, as told by Mark. Mark was talking about how the hygienic practices, the wearing of the masks. In fact, even before the program started, I was looking at the technicians and I'm looking at all the female technicians there are wearing masks and all the male technicians are not wearing masks. Just to go to show, even in a place like that where we're working, people, there are still people who are taking the precautions, because it can't get me. It is not me. I will not get it. I am tougher than this. I am stronger than this. Rather than looking at the reality as it were, coming to terms with what is going on and listening to what people are saying. And we're beginning to get to a stage where we are bargaining and dialoguing with something that we don't totally comprehend. How can you dialogue with COVID? How can you hold a conversation? I was even told that there's some people who say
Sorry, Modoni, your line is breaking. Let me come back to you. Your line is breaking up a little bit, and thank you for pointing out. Just for the record, it is mandatory for here at NTV for everyone working in our studios to wear a mask, whether you're a man or a woman. So we'll pick up on what you mentioned and see what may have slipped up. Now, Tom, let me come to you. Let's go back to the beginning to see where things begin to go wrong. Some people, I think you also believe that our children are no longer getting much direction from parents. They're being raised by TikTok, TV, and social media.
I believe that our parents have become very busy. And we leave our children with caregivers. You leave a TV there, PlayStation, that's what they get their lessons from. And it doesn't cost much, really, to spend some time with your child, even if it's an hour. They do what you do. They will not do what you say. So as long as the house girl is the one giving instructions in the house, the kids will just listen, but at the end of the day, they will think that what the parents are doing is the right thing, because you are the authority figure in their lives. So I think we are having issues with our children, and some of them are actually depressed right now. Only COVID has brought their parents home, I can tell you that. And if you listen to the young fellows now, they tell you, I did not know my father was like this, I did not know my mother was like this. Some relationships have become stronger, some have gone to the winds, I don't know. I think COVID has helped us in that sense, but we should take a proactive stance in this matter of raising our children. Let them know you, know them. Don't be giving orders on things that you are not able to give an example. So I think that's what we have been seeing with our young men. Some of them who come to us, we have a soccer team where they come, and you find that the kid is totally messed up in the head. They are now taking you as an example. Anasema baba yake hayuko, doesn't see the fellow. When the fellow comes, ni amri, 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 and mlale. So okay. We're having challenges there with parenthood.
Thank you, Tom. Let me pick up that actually with Benjamin. Going back to source, who are boys or young boys, modeling on or against?
You see, with boys, ladies are born with a natural desire to connect. You remember back in creation, Adam was given work before he was given a woman. Okay, he was working. Actually, God observed the guy looks lonely. Let me bring a company. But when the woman was created, the first thing she was given was a relationship. She had a poem, Bone of My Bones, and all that. So men tend to value work before family and connection. But women value connection. So ladies are more likely to seek out mentorship. And it's a general advice when you marry a woman, don't try to separate her from her mother. Even when they are fighting, don't come in between. Just listen as an outsider. Soon they'll be back together. And if you try to side with any, now you'll be the devil. So women have a natural tendency to connect to the mother figures, mentors. Even you go to girls' schools, you have what? They're attached to Form 4 is mentoring a woman. They call each other mother, they have even that grandmother, just a relationship. They're modeled but you don't see that in boys' schools. Nobody's calling another one dad. Even if today a guy comes up calling, hey, you dad, what's that? So there's a natural tendency for ladies to be more connection-oriented. When Jesus was calling men to be disciples, he did not use the word love. The one time he used it on Peter, he had to repeat it 3 times because Peter could not get it. He used the language men understand, follow me. So when you want to talk to boys, don't
It's an
use
instruction.
yes, don't use emotions and romance too much of that. Use things like achieving a goal. You know, follow me. We have a mission. Come, we go change the world. You can actually get a lot of men understanding you if you simply switch to speaking masculine, not just feminine. I would go to church and they say, lift your hands and love Jesus. What is that? How do you love Jesus? So I can't get that. I wish would say, how should say, you know, praise that makes appreciate that makes sense, more sense. But the thing is, boys today, we don't have a lot of people to decode the masculine language. And you know, boys are being raised by single mothers. One of the national schools, the principal told me, on the day of reporting, the boys are being brought by girls who are dressed in a very youthful, sexy way. So the general environment, well, it's a boys' school. On the day of reporting, he noticed close to 70%, 80% is women who bring, even the ones on, most are parenting single, but others is married, but the daddy steps aside for mommy to take the boy to school. So in my home place, there's those people who conduct circumcision, and they do around the markets. Those are moving doctors, so to speak. But after he does the first round, his wife comes after him. Those who did not manage to come on the day and appointed, you know, so the wife does it. And then there was a lot of ridicule. If you are circumcised by the wife, you are circumcised by a woman, and all that. So I realized the problem we have with us boys is we have been taught in a manner that the father is a little bit aloof. And what do you see advertisement on the road? Come drink at the table of men. So we associate men with drinking, alcohol. The solution, therefore, is because women are more present. Let's stop pushing and saying the man must do it. I want to ask women to learn masculine language and still use it. There are things you can teach. Because anyway, you gave birth to the boy. He is not a total stranger to you. Don't act like you're an outsider. There's some things you can teach him. Tell him a man expect. And let's stop equating the way the lady said, psychologists say that. Don't tell the boy not to cry, because crying does not show weakness. It's not a woman thing. It's a human thing. If you feel an emotion, express it. Don't tell him to man up. Tell him to open up. Express what you feel.
Okay.
You know?
Thank you, Benjamin. Now, Tom, let me come back to you. So when boys come to you who may not have had the kind of exposure that Benjamin is talking about in terms of relationship with the father, now you become the father figure. What do you do with these young men who are looking up to you to provide that kind of father figure that they don't have, even if they have a father at home, but the father figure is missing?
You love the boys. You just love them.
How do you love them?
You don't push them. You don't order them around. You accept them. And then you let them see how you live your life yourself. You let them see how you interact with other people, how you interact with the ladies, how you interact with the young boys. They just watch you. And you'll find that over time, they start picking things. When they make their blunders out there, they come and tell you, oh, I did this, and okay, nilishikwa na polisi jana. You just love the guy. Unaenda unamsaidia. And you see, they just start changing. You just show them, okay, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. This is a new day. Let's start again. Every day, you tell them this is a new day. When they blunder, it's a new day. But when they do something good, we say, let's build on this. And we have been building and building. However, for the past 8 years, we have seen some beautiful changes, and we are getting new boys. Right now, we have the biggest team we have ever had. But there's no way of helping them if we criticize. When I've had the psychologists talking about venting. Tell them it's okay to vent. The person who is declared the greatest king of all time is King David, and he knew how to vent. He vented the whole Psalms, most of it anyway. And God said, this is a man after my own heart. So we are teaching the kids, look, you are a human being first, you belong to God, and we are here to walk with you. We are not here to criticize you or try and alter your destiny. We are just trying to push you towards it. So you live your life the way God shows you if you let him. And you just walk around with them, and we find that they actually soak in what you do more than what you say.
Okay. Muthoni, let me come to you for this issue of either physically absent fathers in the home or absent father figures. What do you do, especially, for example, if you're a single mother raising boys without a father figure? Hello, Modoni, you can hear me?
I can't.
Oh, is this any better? Just checking whether you can hear me now.
Okay, you sounded very distant. You're coming closer now.
Okay, as our engineer is trying to sort out the sound, I will be a bit louder. My question is about your thoughts on single mothers raising boys without a father present or a father figure. What are your thoughts on this?
Whoa, yes, a good number of our boys these days, because people are making choices, individual choices. Women are making individual choices to bring up children without perhaps the biological father. My thoughts on this are that a boy child still requires that mentor, that father figure, so to speak, in the absence of a biological father. So I think the mother of the child should be in a position to identify somebody. It could be an uncle, it could be a good friend, it could be an older cousin, it could be a grandparent who will now, stand in the gap, so to speak, stand in the gap to bring out, that. That sort of responsibility that is required, of as a man. However, it's not to say that if a child is brought up just by a woman, that the child will not have, the virtues that are brought up, that are expected in an individual. If we were to look at both the boy and the girl child as almost equal in their capacities, in the fact that they have life, then the value system that is integrated into that particular individual should be the same, regardless of whether there is a father figure, because the mother can be the father figure by, instilling the virtues, the strength, the values that you want your child to have in order to face the challenges that are ahead of them.
Okay, thank you for that. And Mike, if you can hear me, again, we're going back to that age where, boys are beginning to form themselves into, or to prepare for themselves for manhood. What do we need to? And if you're going to mute your Zoom, your thoughts on this? How we model, help these young boys to grow into better men?
Is that to me?
That's to Mike. I'm not too sure whether he can hear me.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
Mike?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. One, I think I just need to clarify a few things. One, I think a lot of men are raised to believe that they have no role to play when it comes to mentoring or parenting their own children. And so they believe that their responsibility starts and stops with paying rent and paying for electricity and paying school fees and bringing home meat. So while those are important functions, they don't think that they have any other role beyond that in terms of, in terms of parenting their own children. And so that is why you find most men don't want to be at home. Most men have no relationship with their children because they believe that up to a certain age, the child belongs to the mother. And when the child reaches the age of being a teenager is when now you should bring him to me for me to teach him to be a man. By that time, you've already lost that child. If you don't have any relationship with that child in their formative years, then don't expect that by the time they're teenagers is when you will suddenly magically pop up and start telling them what it is that they can do. By that time, they've already formed their own thoughts and opinions about who they are. They're already becoming self-aware. It will be very difficult to break any sort of, to create any sort of relationship at that point. That also said, I think a lot of men are just lazy in terms of performing their role as parents. And they don't want to be unduly burdened with having to parent their own children when they already have the mother at home or they have another partner at home who they feel they can do that. That is why you find most men, would rather not be in the house. They'll be outside and create all sorts of excuses of why they cannot be at home. They'll be outside hustling, but even when there is nothing to hustle, they'll still be outside. They just don't want to be in the home because, first of all, they have no relationship either with their partner or even with their own children. So I think men need to do much better. We can't keep hiding behind this excuse of, you know, I don't know how to speak a language of love with my own kids. I don't know what to do with a child who is 5. We need to stop that level of, and I'll just call it ignorance. You know, these are your own children. If you're not going to be, if you're not going to parent your own kids, don't expect somebody else to do it, and then blame that person when your kids turn out to be a certain way.
And Mike,
so
just...
men need to step up. Men need to step up. Men need to perform their functions as fathers. They need to be present, and being present doesn't mean just being in the house. It means being actively involved in your child's life, in terms of education, in terms of value systems, in terms of how they grow.
Now, Mike, you work in the area of human rights. I wonder whether it's time to remind men that they also have rights to feelings. Ni haki yako to express your feelings as a man.
You know, and again, I come back to the process of socialization of men. That a lot of men have been socialized to believe that you cannot show emotion, you cannot show vulnerability. And even if you look at the circles of friends that men keep, most men don't know how to be vulnerable in front of their friends. Most men don't create safe spaces where you can talk about things that are meaningful in terms of things that you're finding challenging, difficulties that you're coming across. And how most men tend to discuss their issues is over, over alcohol, or other habits that and practices that are not very value adding. Women, for example, will have spaces where they can meet and really iron out and talk about their issues in a way that creates solutions. Men don't have that habit of doing that. As a matter of fact, if you try to be vulnerable in front of your male friends, chances are that they'll either ridicule you, or they'll, just brush it under the table and ask you to have one more beer or one more drink. So men need to begin to understand that we must be our brother's keepers. If you've got a circle of friends and somebody comes to you with an issue that they're facing, that there's nothing wrong with letting that person be vulnerable in front of you, and there's nothing wrong with you then allowing that person to be able to talk about an issue that they are facing very deeply, giving all of you an opportunity to help that person reflect around that issue and come up with a solution that creates value rather than just distracts from the problem.
Okay.
So we need to begin to educate ourselves. This is not something that women should do for us. It's something men should do for themselves. We need to begin to understand the value of being able to talk about issues that we are facing. And the reason why that is because even if you look at the rates of, for example, depression and suicide, it's higher in men than in women. And so we need to understand that this thing, that this thing of pretending to be macho and that things are not affecting us, it really is affecting us negatively.
Okay.
More men are killing themselves. More men are falling into depression. More men are going into, coping habits to try and deal with stress and life-related issues. And the outcome of that is that you're finding men are hiding behind alcohol. Men are hiding behind different risky behavior. Men are becoming more violent in the homes.
Mike,
so there's definitely a correlation between the inability to be vulnerable and talk about the issues that you're facing and some of the challenges that we're finding in society brought about by men.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mike, for that. Now, Benjamin, for a young father who's bringing up children, including boys, what are the best ways to give them the best model that they can be? How do you communicate with your young boys growing up now as a father?
Rule number 1: marry the right mother.
Why do you say that?
Many men run from home because they married a wild woman. And they marry the wild woman because they don't understand the growth schedule of a woman. Women stabilize at 25. Before 25, you don't know who she is. She looks young and innocent, but a wolf could be developing from her. I don't mean to be demeaning or anything, but some of them are wild. They don't need to settle at home. Wait until 26 so that you can see what you're dealing with. Maybe now there's a wife material. You can deal with a good girl. Now you can get children and come home.
Are you saying you shouldn't marry anyone below the age of 26?
Don't attempt it. Many have attempted, and I tell you, those who rush in to marry at 23 out, they'll be getting out 10 years later. A lot of scarred and threatened. Most men who stay too long before marriage is because of heartbreak. They got involved with a girl. who didn't know what she was becoming. And because she has not seen the world and you're a good guy, many of them are in college. They have not seen a lot. The time they'll get out, they'll begin to want to explore.
Could that be true of men as well, that you don't know the real man until much, much later when they mature?
Very good. Ladies wait for 25, men wait for 30. I told you men 25 to 30 are exploring. Ladies are exploring 19 to 24. Okay? The growth schedules are almost opposite. But because we are so ignorant of it, so the rule number one for men, get a woman who has at least stabilized, you can see what she's becoming. Number two, men, be involved in parenting. Don't just piga mupira and then you don't know whether you scored a penalty or not. Plan your children. When are you ready to be available? Don't just, you are surprised by kid. Another one is coming. Oh no, another one is coming. Oh no, then you run. Some men have 2 kids there, 2 kids there, 2 kids there. How will you distribute yourself with 17 children? Use your common ability, man. Plan what you're doing. Get 1 or 2, the ones you can be available for. You need to distribute your time. You can't throw your wild oats everywhere. Shooting here, shooting there, shooting there. When you'll be available.
Okay, Benjamin, sasa tumeingia kwenye Premier League. I was going to provoke my Arsenal friends, but I'll keep shut. We have to take a break because it's getting hot in the studio. Men, msikilize kwa makini. We have a lot in stock for you as we come back after this break. We'll be back shortly. We'll have a few comments from you that have come in from people who are watching this program. And here's what you've been saying to us on our hashtag New Normal. Hilary Nango is saying, because many men are hustlers and are making the ends meet day and night, they trek everywhere while ladies stay indoors waiting for them to send them something to eat. That's why they are likely to come into contact with the virus. God protect and bless the male gender. It is not their fault, okay? And then this is Frank Karani. You say, we've raised them that way and they're not behaving badly. They're in high-risk jobs that expose them to possible transmission, or in dense, of social clubs. They need to retain mental stability. And this is Mjomba Evelyn. You say, this tells you that men and women can't be equals. Men are the providers and can move heaven and earth to place bread on the table for the whole family, even if it means risking their lives. Pray for men. Okay, quite a lot of prayers being asked there for men. Wambogo Nema Grace, you say, are they always? That's men. I think that being men gives them every right to misbehave. I hope they learn 2 or 3 things from the pandemic. Wow, sasa tutapona kweli. Abed Kimwe said, men are ever trying out to make something good for their families, which include the women and children. Sawa, asante sana. Ranyanya Oduoli say, it's not men's bad behavior, it's hustling conditions of men and responsibilities. Sawa. And Nyakwar Nyapundo, you say, I don't trust these outcomes. In taking of samples, at least there should be a day when more women were tested. So you think that data is not correct, that more men are contracting the virus? Higher. Kashmir, you say, men everywhere hustling, traveling more than women, but the other gender, wanatuekelea tu. Where? Aki men mumeamka leo. Now, we're not behaving badly. We're just trying to make ends meet outside there for our children and the other gender. Okay, the hunter-gatherer is still trying to justify. Then there's another one here from Asumike. You see, the providers sacrifice their lives for a better tomorrow. Thank you, Asumi. We have another comment from Eden Oscar Momo. You say, men are out looking what they will bring back to the table at the end of the day. Most ladies are in closed spaces like offices, boutiques, and others don't leave the house at all. Men are jumping up and down, working in congested areas like Mjengo, bus stations, drivers, conductor, truck drivers going all over the world. Where? Apo me justify kweli. Okay, thank you so much. We'll be right back. And ladies, let's hear from you as well. What do you think about men's behavior in this pandemic season? We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with more on Your World.
Champions League season is reaching a new peak. Are you ready for the ride?
Everything again.
Europe's finest football clubs are about to experience unrivaled acceleration. And DSTV gives you the best seat in the house. It's the thrilling rush to the UEFA Champions League final. Get connected to DSTV to experience every heart-stopping moment.
This week on The Trend, Awilo Longomba is bringing his A-game. Daudia acoustic duet with some lovely renditions.
Jerusalema, ikajalami,
ulienda hivi ukaingia kwa kinyozi.
Comedy queen Brenda Jones.
Everybody get up, hands in the air, say
my DJ E.
Everywhere, go.
Go DJ.
All this and many more only on The Trend right here on NTV.
I see you.
Did you know there's a laundry bar soap that can help save you time, water, and money? You save by not having to use multiple products. And you only rinse once. For a laundry soap that can help save you time, water, and money, try Whitewash Extra. Brand power, helping you buy better.
Finding the truth in these uncertain times has become certain. Possibilities for business even more convenient with the Nation e-paper. To enjoy this and more, simply dial star 550 star 1 hash for Daily Nation and star 550 star 5 hash for Business Daily on your mobile phone and get 50% discount on the e-paper. Yes, for just 20 shillings each, the truth will find you and more possibilities right where you are. Dial star 550 star 1 hash for Daily Nation and star 550 star 5 hash for Business Daily today. Terms and conditions apply.
Pishi by Nation Media Group brings you Celebrity Home Chef. This is a chance to nominate your favorite celebrity to get in the kitchen and showcase their cooking skills on TV. Simply head on to @Pishi254 on social media. Comment by tagging your favorite celebrity and guess what? We might just make it happen. Tune in to NTV every Friday to catch the celebrity in action.
Ndovu flowers are fortified with vitamins and minerals to provide wholesome goodness for the whole family. Ndovu all-purpose flour makes the most delicious chapatis, mandazis and all other pastries. Ndovu is readily available at your nearest shop. Ndovu Tosha.
Wewe mwenyewe ndio uliniambia my name betrays me. Does it still betray me really?
Never.
Are you still Uhuru's errand boy?
In fact, I remember William Ruto. He told me, Steve, welcome to Club ya Watu wa Mkono. It is wrong for a deputy president like William Ruto to challenge his boss. If I was him, I would do the honorable thing. I would resign.
The governor for Makueni believes that it is time for you to leave the stage.
Who should leave?
And he actually says you suffer from prima donna syndrome.
I tell you, there are people suffering from worst forms of syndrome. My friend is saying NASA is dead, and I'm saying NASA, as of now, is not dead.
Are you ready to work with Raila again, moving into 2022?
Every Saturday, we are live on your #1 radio station, Nation FM 96.3 from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. where we give you nothing but good reggae music and good vibes. Remember, #JamDownKE.
I, Miss Katiwa, will be bringing you up to date. Yani nitakuwa nakupatia vako zote za kila story zenye zina hit reggae fraternity only on Vibes Mtaani.
Alafu pia mazia pana sao DJ Morighty anakuwa anakuchezea request zako zote from all around the world. Reggae music from roots, lovers and dancehall music. You got to request #JamDownKE right here on NTV. Also,
yes, they call me MC Jawachi.
And call me Miss Katiwa.
DJ Mo the roughest.
And don't you go nowhere because
nobody
can stop reggae.
We can come again.
Welcome to your world after that short break. And this morning, if you've just joined us, we are throwing a spotlight on men, especially men behaving badly in this season of the pandemic. And I've got a fantastic panel here with me. We've got Tom Ayeko, who is a youth mentor who uses sports to mentor young men and young boys. We're also here in the studio joined by Benjamin Zulu, who is a counseling psychologist and a life coach. We have via Zoom Mike Washira, who is a human rights lawyer and advocate for equality and social justice. We're also joined via Zoom by Mudhoni Gadesha, who is a psychologist, educationist, and an actor whom you might recognize from a few years back here on NTV. Now, before we get back into the discussion, let's look at some of the stories we've run in the past. An illustration of men behaving badly. I'll fight this thing, I was born in this town. The now infamous words of Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, as captured on camera on his arrest by police last month for flouting the COVID-19 curfew. Now, despite being found drinking with companions, not only during the curfew, but at a bar not permitted to operate in the time of COVID-19, he initially showed no remorse. According to a police report, Senator Sakaja dared the officers to handcuff him. He even spat out that, he had the power to have them all transferred within 24 hours. At the time, Sakaja was chair of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on the COVID-19 situation in Kenya. This is what our investigative editor, Dennis Okari, found out when he pursued the story last month.
I will return respect for respect.
This is an amateur video recording showing an intoxicated Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja shouting orders and arguing with police officers at Kilimani police station soon after his arrest. Senator Sakaja was locked in the cells with 3 other persons who refused to give their names in the occurrence book. A few minutes past 1 a.m., the first team of police officers from Kilimani police station arrived here after receiving a tip-off from area residents who were complaining of noise that was coming from inside this compound. But when they arrived, they were met with violence from Senator Sakaja, who was inciting his friends who he was drinking with not to leave this compound.
Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja later admitted fault in violating the COVID-19 curfew. The senator, who also offered to relinquish his post as the chair of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19, however, read malice in the manner in which the police treated him and his family following their encounter at the Seraph Ladies Lounge.
A more sober, more familiar, dignified-looking Sakaja emerged having eaten a good share of humble pie. He tried to recover his good public image that suffered a dent this past weekend.
That is not my character. Sijatishia mtu. Sina nguvu ya kufuta mtu kazi ama kutransfer mtu. Ni vile ile mambo mengine ambayo iliendelea ndio ilinionyesha ni mambo mengine. Yani hadi hata kupigwa ngumi.
He now claims that he is like any other man with shortcomings that he owns up to.
I can say on Friday it was not any official duty. I was not oversighting, I was not looking at what they're doing. I was on the wrong on that one, and I agree. And I'm sorry.
Man cornered, man repents. Now, as the government continues to ensure all counties are well equipped to fight COVID-19, more onus is being placed on individual and corporate responsibility to help keep the nation alive. The containment of the disease has seen the introduction of many measures, and bar owners who flout the rules are already feeling the heat.
Last week, when the president issued the directive that the Inspector General of Police has to submit a report to us every week, we have closed some bars and we have taken some licenses. And some of them for sure, as His Excellency the President directed, we will take licenses for good. Tusicheze na maneno ya maisha ya watu wetu namna hii. Eti unajifanya unaenda kufunga usiku huko, alafu unaenda kuuza huko. Tusianze hii shortcuts hivi. We are thinking we are making a shilling here, making a shilling there. When in actual fact, you are exposing yourself first, your family, and the rest of the community. Tufuate sheria vile tumeelezwa.
Okay, so welcome back to the discussion on men and men behaving badly. And let me come to you, Modoni, first of all. We've spent quite a bit of time showing how the man is in a lot of trouble. Now, the question is there hope for the man?
Thank you very much, Joseph. Yes, there is hope for the man. This is what I'd like. I'd like to throw a spanner to the works and make a particular statement by asking more or less a rhetorical question. Why are the men running away from home and putting their lives at risk? Mark put it out so clearly when he was talking about men being lazy and so on, and not wanting to take up responsibility, that it becomes too much work to look after our children. But in the same vein, and I'm speaking like now from a woman's point of view, being the only woman in this panel, that are we as women also pushing our men away? Are our expectations of our men so high that they have to escape, that they have to take off? Are we still living in that almost stone age where we are expecting the man to be the gatherer? You pay the rent, you pay school fees, I'm working, I'm getting as much money as you, if not more, but I'm still expecting you to foot all the bills. So if that is the kind of volatile environment that we are having our husbands and our children growing under, then there would be a reason for a man to behave badly. He will escape. When you start nagging, when we start pushing them to the wall, there's only so much you can do. You push a rat to the wall, a rat will attack. So again, this might be the way to attack. So again, maybe we should also look at how are we treating our men? How are we treating our boys? So that what is making them leave? Are we giving them a conducive environment for them to stay at home with us, to help us bring up the family together? Or are we pushing them away? Even in this time that COVID, with the lockdown and everything and the curfews and so on, there's some of us who are being very nasty, to our men. Oh, sasa huwezi kwenda kuona ndogo yako. So you're suffering now because you're not able to go and see your sidekick. Now, if you push a man, he's already decided to stay at home because of curfew, and then you're pushing him out again, he's going to go and put himself at risk. So some of us are pushing our men to go out there and, rather than appreciating what they have to bring on the table, we're pushing them away from us. So apart from just looking at the man being the hunter-gatherer and the man being that reckless person who goes out, what part is the woman playing in all of this?
Thank you so much, Modoni. Actually, Tom, let me also pick up that same thread of discussion with you. We've spent a lot of time just focusing on the man, but the man does not live in isolation. There is Eve in the picture as well. So what are your thoughts about the role of women in helping and supporting the man to be what he needs to be?
Okay, it's interesting that the Bible commands the man to love the wife, but it tells the wife to submit. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that balance, and if we actually internalize this, we are going to have a better home. But right now, the situation is not like our CS says, it's abnormal. Women go out there and work, they earn money, they have some semblance of power and freedom, and the man may feel threatened. Maybe he's not earning as much. But at the end of the day, whatever breaks the communication between the man and the woman will be the insecurities that grow from not knowing your partners. Your partner came to you, you're married. If you're sitting down and talking, you will realize that everything that comes into the home belongs to the home. So the ladies sometimes give the men a hard time, like my sister said there. But if you understand each other and you have a common goal, you're raising a family, you're moving in one direction, it should not matter who earns more than the other. The Bible gives the man the role of head, but the woman who is here, who is a helper, is equally on the same footing. You cannot be helping someone if you do not understand where they are heading or what they are doing to head there. So you help based on understanding. I believe that our women, they are precious to us, but they need also to understand us. And men, explain what you're doing. Let them understand why you're doing what you're doing, and I will guarantee that you will have a smoother ride moving towards that direction. Whether she earns more or doesn't earn at all, whether you earn more or you don't, if you choose to work together, the Bible says, love your wife. I guarantee she'll submit, and then you can move ahead.
Okay.
That's my view.
Tom, thank you. Benjamin, let me come to you. Looking at some of the comments that have come in from our viewers, almost, I think, maybe 80% are saying, look, the man has got to go out there and hustle. And the challenge we have with the pandemic is that it has contained the man in the house. We're seeing a lot of conflict, a lot of very sad incidents of even domestic violence that's on there. Should we just accept that it's part of the man to, growing up as a child, even in my own vernacular, it's, you know, a man needs to step out. It's all that, you know, in our languages. Is that part of the problem, that the man is now feeling really, really constrained, not just by the pandemic, but by this, maybe a suffocating environment in the house?
And you know, Joseph, that's a good question. And we need to remind people that we are not saying everybody to stay home. It's impossible. We're saying those who can work from home should work from home. But a matatu guy can't work from home because he actually needs to ferry people. But we're asking you, as you go out there, are you taking the precautions? How many times have you seen a conductor interacting so many people, and then the nose is out? People are wearing the mask and the nose is out. We are not telling you to stay in. We're asking you, surely you can wear a mask in whatever you are doing. Because you can, so we are saying, it's not so much asking men, you must stay home. It's asking them, are you careful about your health? Let's think higher. When you say you must go out, then you go out carelessly and you die, or you contract and spread it to your people. Have you really achieved what you are doing? One thing I tell men is, men are born with more ability to think rationally. They can think straight, even when under emotions. We have more. Rationality is our right hand, the feeling, empathy is the left hand. But for women, it's the opposite. They connect emotionally. That's why they say, I have a feeling that a guy will, he will do mathematics. I say men are calculators. You know, when women are intuitors, they want to feel the thing. Men want to, even when they advertise the things, to do the math. So this is what I ask the men, to not be careless, because if you die, the same family you are trying to protect will suffer more. There's something an idea I picked, I want to tie it up somewhere, to tell men that one reason men abandon their families and the boys and they don't model, they don't protect, is because they're not planning for the child. They were surprised, they were shocked, they were told, hey, ile mbegu ulipanda imemea, and then they were shocked, they started running away. Is to tell men to tame their horses and to shoot with an aim, to calculate ahead, and to know how many kids can I manage. Many men flee because they have beaten more than they can chew. So calculate what you want to do. Finally, as a man, it's not how many women you can conquer, it's how well you can manage one woman. The thing is self-control. Even in evolution, whatever is huge and bloated is always on the brink of extinction. It's the first one to be gotten out by nature. Because even if you're huge, you need to feed yourself, you need to feed that system. So I ask men to keep light on their foot. Get a small unit that you can feed and be available for. You know, in fact, God told women that they shall be ruled by the man, but he gave them the freedom to choose the ruler they want. If you want a lion, if you want a lamb, if you want a monkey, choose the one to rule you, but it will rule you. For men, this is the condemnation, so to speak, the consequence of your choice. That whatever you sow, getting a kid is easy. It's the 20-year mortgage of raising the child that is the work. So I want to ask men not to view getting a baby, because I men who go out there asking women, get a baby for me, get a baby. Do you think a baby is a pair of socks? You're going to be there for trade. It's like a mortgage, man. That kid will be a dependent for so many years. So men are running out of here because they're in debt. Debt to provide, debt to be there, debt to, and especially not only the pocket, but emotions. To be there for the kid. One professor went home driving a Range Rover. He's a professor out there. But he finds the kid playing with the mud. And he invites dad to join. They can't say, I'm a professor. Here you are a dad. So as you get a kid, imagine being emotionally available, playing those kid games with them, making, playing kitchen, playing with them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, Tom, let me come back up to you. How do you go about remodeling differently or shaping the new man, if I may call it that, the man of the future, the man post-pandemic?
Like I mentioned before, we have to find the right basis of developing anything that we wish to develop. My basis is the Bible, the Word of God. In the beginning, God said ABCD about man. Man is supposed to hold fort for him on earth. Now, for you to do that, to be able to hold fort, you must be in the same wavelength with the person who gave you the job. God gave the job. My brother there said that man was given work before he was given a woman. God gave you the work to hold dominion here for him. So for us, we have to reattach ourselves with our Creator, learn from him what he wants from us, and then apply. Application is a thing. Just apply. Learn how to love your family, learn how to do the work without complaining. Just continue going back to the manual. You read your Bible, it will teach you what you need to do when you are in doubt. The people have gone ahead of us, we ask them. I also have mentors who I run to. Hapa nimekwama, help me. And after this COVID, now that we are staying home with our children, even when we do not wish to be at home, after the COVID, if we take the prescription that I'm just mentioning, you'll find that it is easier for you to relate with your family and to walk around with them without fear. Know your wife, unajua saa zile amekasirika, when she's happy, and how to handle the situation because you're using the correct manual for the correct job. You can use the, yes.
And now, Tom, just very briefly, with the young boys that you're mentoring through football, what kind of men do you see coming out of them in years to come?
What we have there are go-getters. They are people who want to achieve. They want to win. They want to be fitter than the other person. But what we are actually creating is we are looking at leaders tomorrow who can take on any responsibility without shying from it. You mentioned earlier about people saying, hapa si banduki. I would rather die than resign. But these guys will take responsibility for what they are, who they are, and create a legacy for others to follow. When we talk about being men, unasikia mtu anakuuliza, are you man enough? But it is man enough for what? What are you being man enough for? We are teaching them to find that objective, that focus. Once they find that focus, we want to see in future our young men standing up in society without corruption, building a society that the young fellows who come after them really look to them and say, that is the kind of person I want to be, because they live a stress-free life. When you want to cry, you cry. It's not a shame. If you want to win, you do it the right way. You don't cut shortcuts. Those are the young people we are training now.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. And talking about football, South African football fans watch from home as the country's Premier Soccer League, PSL, restarts with defending champions Mamelodi Sundowns tackling Orlando Pirates. The ABSA Premiership is the fourth major league in Africa to resume after the Moroccan Botola Pro 1, the Tunisian Ligue Professionnelle, and the Egyptian Premier League.
Under these new conditions, we're finding creative ways of how to, whether it's a zoom in with the boys while we're watching either the Champions League or the PSL. That's something we kind of have to get used to now. But thank goodness for technology, because we can touch base But it's kind of taken away the look and feel of the league, whereas you have to be there to get the atmosphere, to get the gears, as they call it.
It takes a lot out of a coach really to encourage the boys, because most of the time supporters are there, and then they act that player to be 12 players in the field of play when they're there. But now, as they're not there, it means now it takes really a lot out of a coach.
The keeper was a couple of seconds late.
That's where really we see great coaches, not good coaches, great coaches, because of there's no supporters. How do you motivate your boys in terms of pushing having that confidence in terms of trying to create chances.
So that's the return of Premiership football in South Africa. Mike, let me come to you now and look at how what do we need to do as a society to shape the man of the future in Kenya?
I think the responsibility, first and foremost, should be on men to be able to educate themselves about what it is that we can do better. And because we know where the shoe, we know where the shoe pinches. And so as opposed to looking for excuses to escape responsibility for us becoming better, we need to be able to understand what are the things that we can do. We need to educate ourselves about what are the things that we can do to make life even easier for ourselves, but also for our families also. And one, I think, is to, even within a relationship setup, to ask ourselves, how are we communicating as partners at home? And are we looking at our relationships as a partnership, or are we looking at relationships as one person having more power than the other? What are the power dynamics in the home, and how can they be managed in a way that creates value? I think our socialization is a bit harmful to the extent that it is the person who has the most resources that calls the shots and makes the decisions. If we look at it that way, remember the balance of power can shift depending on various factors. Today it could be the man with the money, tomorrow it could be the woman with the money. And so you tend to see this sort of shifting of power, where today the man has money and so he's the one who determines everything. Tomorrow the woman has the money and she revenges because she thinks, okay, fine, now I'm the one who has got the money. Let me show this guy that now I'm the one calling the shots. If we think about relationships in that manner, it'll always be tit for tat. It'll always be one person out to get the other. And we're not looking at relationships as partnerships. So we need to think about how we can look at our relationships as individual, as unique relationships. You can't have a homogeneous sort of, description of what a relationship should be. You're the one who lives in your house. You're the one who lives with your spouse there. The two of you need to sit down and agree what sort of partnership you want to have in your home that creates value and that ensures that you have a functional relationship and a functional home that's running. So I think one, that's really important. But also, men, now we need to have a serious conversation about what does it mean to be a man in this day and age, where we are not performing the traditional roles that are ascribed to men, either by tradition, by culture, or religion. And because women are more empowered now, women are working, women have resources, women can make decisions, women are able to call the shots at home. Does that mean that if I'm at home and I'm not working, I'm not bringing in any money? Does that make me less of a man? Or are there other functions that I can perform in the home which equally ensure that I am playing and implementing my role as a man within the home? So these are conversations that we need to ask ourselves. What does it mean to be a man in this day and age where I'm not performing those roles and functions?
Okay.
We need to talk about them honestly.
Thank you.
Unless and until we have that conversation, we will find men still having a crisis of masculinity, where you're in a home where you are not bringing in resources. You are at a home where you are more of a dependent than a provider. and that will cause problems.
Okay,
So-
thank you, Mike. And this, I suppose, this is where part of that conversation begins. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with more on this conversation about men and men behaving badly here on Your World.
Heaviness and a burning inside, it could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Get free access to digital learning today. For primary and secondary students, one can now access learning and revision materials that has been approved by KICD. Dial *291# and subscribe to Safaricom Digital Learning and Shupavu 291 today. Tufungue njia, elimu iendelee.
Welcome back to Your World, and this morning we have a focus on men and men behaving badly in this season of the pandemic. My guests on the panel are Tom Mayeko, who is a youth mentor and sports coach, who is also a member of the men's ministry at Sitam Church, Buruburu. We are also joined by Benjamin Zulu here in the studio, who is a counseling psychologist and a life coach. And via Zoom, we have Mike Washira, a human rights lawyer and advocate for equality and social justice. We're also joined via Zoom by Modoni Gadesha, who is a psychologist, educationist, and also an actor. Just before we resume our discussion, a few other stories of what else is happening in the other world. Now, on the bridge of one of the world's biggest container ships, a worker in grey protective suit installs the compass that will guide the Leviathan across the world. The finishing touches are being put to the HMM St. Petersburg at the Samsung Heavy Industry shipyard on the island of Gorge at the southern tip of South Korea. Deep in the bowels of the enormous vessel, welders are dwarfed by the giant engines that will propel it at a maximum speed of over 22 knots. At 400 meters, that's 1,300 feet, the HMM St. Petersburg is 100 meters longer than the Eiffel Tower is tall and 62 meters wide. It has a capacity of 23,820 foot equivalent units, the standard measure of a shipping container, which owner Hyundai Merchant Marine, HMM, describe as enough to carry 7 billion choco pies, a popular Korean snack, one for every human being on the planet. It's the 12th and last of a new class of such vessels. HMM is putting into service the largest of their kind in the world and costing 170 to 180 billion won. That's nearly 150,000 million $143 million each. A day after a deadly blast ripped through Beirut, a video of 78-year-old May Melki went viral, showing her playing the piano after returning to her damaged home. So, what inspired her to play music amidst destruction? Keep it music there from Lebanon. Now, police visit homes and businesses in Melbourne, Australia to ensure compliance with all measures that have been put in place to contain COVID-19. Now, Melbourne is currently under a 6-week lockdown as non-essential businesses were forced to shut and a curfew is in place. Australian police have arrested 2 men accused of planning an anti-lockdown protest in Melbourne, an unusual move to stop an event that authorities said would put lives at risk. Police said Friday that the 2 men in their 40s had been detained after mobile phones and a computer were seized, and both would be formally charged with inciting a criminal offence. The pair were arrested following an investigation into a process of hundreds of people planned for Melbourne city centre on Sunday. Ukraine's Justice Ministry begins a drive to sell off its prisons, an ambitious project meant to help finance new jails for the country's aging penitentiary system. Over the next 10 years, the Justice Ministry plans to sell about 100 prisons. Okay, Modoni, let me start with you. And now we're trying to look at how we shape the man of the future in Kenya. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Joseph. One thing we need to take cognizance of is that life is dynamic. Life is not static, because times have changed and things have changed, and change is inevitable. If we are trying to bring up our sons of today the way in which our grandfathers brought up our fathers, it doesn't make sense at all. We need to be aware, of what is happening. We need to, there are lots of us who bring up our children and say to them things like, do you know how many ridges I climbed or went across when I was going to school? And right now your child is on school transport, or you drive your child to school, which doesn't make sense at all. You cannot give them examples whose sell-by date has, literally gone. So we need to take cognizance of our, the here and the now, what is happening around us, creating that awareness that times have changed, responsibilities have changed, and the dynamics in one way or another have more or less changed. Once we take this into consideration, then we move, with what we have, with the here and now, with what we have in the present, rather than dwelling on the past and talking, bringing up archaic philosophies which are of little or no assistance, to the individual. So that is one thing that we need to do. Take cognizance of what is happening in the here and now, what is happening or how dynamic the things are, and move with that. Okay. Another thing we also need to put into consideration is we need to be aware that our children, as they grow up, male or female, have different personality types. And this is something that we need to know. What brings up that personality? Why is my child behaving in a certain way? Apart from their gender, there's also their genes. Do we realize that some of the character traits that our children have are inherited from the parents. So we also as parents have a responsibility to be the role models of our children so that the children are able, to mimic what we are doing.
Okay.
Because if we have an abusive home, a father is beating his wife, a child may grow up knowing that this is what a man does. So again, having proper role models for our children.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me come to Benjamin, and in terms of shaping the man of the future. Now, our own social interactions, even the language we use, like mwanaume ni effort, it already brings a certain expectation on the man. How do you begin to shift that?
I liked what the youth mentor there said, that in summary, when you want to shape a boy, whether you're the man or the woman, you need to love and lead them, not to coerce and confuse. And this is very important for men. Do not be police, don't be military, don't be mkoloni to your son. He wants more connection than coercion. Another thing is, you can only guide people as far as you went yourself. And I want to sound a caution to us, the sons. If you're still yearning for mentorship, don't keep going on to a lost father to show you the way. You need to learn early. If your father is just deadbeat, acknowledge it, man. Accept your fate in life. Outsource fatherhood. Get a mentor. It can be a priest or a father or a pastor or a friend. You can have conversations. Man, there's this thing I'm thinking about. What do you think of this man? There are those fathers, there is no conversation. Hey, manaume, ulipata nini? Hala munarudi lini? Sawa, shughulika. There is no conversation. You as a young man, identify early. And once you realize your father is bitter, don't keep going back to him. And I have announced this to young people, those who are emerging. If you want to go further than your parents went, acknowledge their limitations. Respect their effort in your life, how they brought you up. Respect them, but know how far they can not take you, because people can only show you how far they went themselves. So as equally to men, if you are aiming high, and your father is that cabbage of a man who drinks and falls on a ditch, and he has to be carried by his own children, he's a burden to the people you're supposed to lead. Acknowledge it, man, and say, this guy, as much as he brought me to the world, he can't take me to my destiny. Let me outsource. Let me call up Joseph. Man, can we catch up? There's some things I want a manly talk. Can we talk? Outsource, realize, and stop cursing him. Some boys are still bitter with their father. If he abandoned you when you were 13, now you're 30, hey, the ball has shifted. It's now your responsibility to try and map out your way. So the boys also have a responsibility to acknowledge where they need leadership and look for it.
Okay. Fiery thoughts there from Benjamin. Tom, let me come to you. Your thoughts as well on in terms of how we begin to shift and to mold the new man. I mean, you're already in that process yourself with the people that you mentor.
Yeah, we just have to be a good example. I am a father of 3. I have 2 daughters and a son. I see the way I treat the mother impacts directly to the children. If I love the mother, the house is so happy. Anytime when we are not talking with the mother, everybody is sad. If I am showing my wife love, my son sees that. He sees it is not weakness to show love to your wife. When I love my children, my wife is right there beside me. And as we go along, I expect that when they will be searching for partners, we will be an example for them. This is how you should be. But when now we talk about the community where I live, we want the people around us to see. These people are not perfect, but they are doing as much as they can with the help of God. My neighbors will see me. I don't beat my wife. I've never had reason to since we got married. And they see us walking out to the shop together to buy stuff together. So my friends, some of my men friends say, Kwandi, you have been domesticated kabisa. But I am happy. That's why I come home. When I come home, I feel like a king. Uko inje, you will tell me to man up, you tell me to be this, to the other. But when I'm home, I can be me. I can lead my family. So it's just being an example and knowing that if I love this woman is the one who completes me. That's what the Bible says, completes me. So when I'm with a woman who is my wife, I am complete. Now I am Tom. But when I come to you as my friend, we can do work. We can be acquaintances, we can be friends, we can be bosom buddies. But at the end of the day, it is home that makes the children and makes the mother and makes the father. So you build good homes, strong homes, you'll have a man in future you can rely on.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Now, Mike, to you, Mike, and then maybe a little, I'll also move on to Muthoni after that. What kind of man do we feel as a panel will emerge after the pandemic? Men have had a lot of time to spend with their families, whether forced or not. They've had to interact with their children, whether forced or not. So they've had a time to reflect. Their man cave has been taken away, unfortunately, during these last five and a half months. So what kind of man do we think will emerge after the pandemic, God willing, when this thing is over or is under control somehow? Let me start with you, Mike.
Thanks. I think the kind of man who should emerge from this pandemic is one who is more self-aware. Because if you've been spending that much time at home and you haven't learned anything from that experience, having been in the homestead, you haven't had a chance to reflect upon yourself and your habits and your behaviors and things that you could do better. If you emerge without having that sort of self-reflection, then I don't think there's much that can be done to help you. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that this is true. I'm hoping that this pandemic then will give men a chance to first of all, to slow down, because men are all over the place all the time. So it'll give us a chance to, first of all, slow down, start considering what kind of lives we want to live even after this pandemic is over. And I think what I'm beginning to see even around me in my own neighborhood where I stay is men are starting to now form relationships with their spouses, starting to form relationships with their children, starting to reflect a bit more about their own personal health, starting to reflect a bit more about why is it that I'm always out and about. Some of the things that I need to get done can also be done at home. I now can structure my time in a more productive way that gives me an opportunity to be more available to my family and to my children. So I'm hoping then that we'll see a man who is healthier, who is more conscious about spending meaningful time with his children, with his partner, a man who realizes that he doesn't have to be, that true happiness is at home and within and not without.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping that that will create that opportunity for men to reinvent themselves.
All right, so quite a hopeful picture of the man after the pandemic. Muthoni, your thoughts?
I'm hoping that we will get a more sensitive man, a man who has more responsibility, a man who is not only called father because he provided the seed, but a father who can be called daddy because he's in the children's lives. Unfortunately, on the other end, we might have a bitter group of people who emerge after the pandemic, and people who might have taken the quick fixes using alcohol or drugs as an escape. And therefore, I fear that we might have a nation that has succumbed to maybe alcoholism or drug use. That is my great fear.
Okay, and Tom as well, your thoughts as we begin to close the program. What kind of man do you want to emerge from this pandemic?
I want a man who takes initiative in all the right ways. I want a man who takes responsibility for where they are, where they're heading, and actually work towards it. I'm looking at a man who values his family and his community around him. That's the kind of man that I pray will come out of this COVID situation that we have currently. I'm just praying that the men will go back to the beginning, to the Word of God that gives them their mandate.
Okay. Tom, thank you very much indeed. Now, Benjamin, the bar has been set quite high for the man who should emerge from this pandemic. Tutawezana?
Let me tell you the truth. I don't think this pandemic will change anyone. It will just reveal what you are made of. Do you know that diamond and charcoal are made of the same substance? The difference is how much pressure when each was formed. The same fire that softens plastic will harden asbestos, that substance that makes the sockets on the wall. When wind blows, small fires go out. but big fires grow bigger. I want to ask men to embrace this thrust, to behave like an eagle. When other birds hide when there's storm, the eagle sees a chance to fly easily because wind is moving. I want to ask men, the direction you were going, aim at it now at a faster speed instead of retreating. This is like war. It's like we're in a war now, economic war, recession and all that. We will come from war. Some of us will be war heroes, veterans, people with experience. We have bonded more. We have fought together. Others will be traumatized, afraid, hiding, retreating. And that's why you are having many women having to take leadership for the family to survive. I want to ask men not to sit back. And I don't allow any man to allow the woman to out-earn you. Because now she will be calling the shot. Whoever pays the piper calls the shots. I want to ask men, even if your job has been lost, men, take this as a reflection time. Adjust your way. Do whatever you can. Don't just sit back. Go where activities. Take all the precautions, but by all means, men, take leadership. Be in front there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, just before we end, let's also look at the woman who should emerge from this, because it is a woman who walks side by side with the man. And I'm going to start with you, Tom. Now let's talk about the woman after the pandemic.
I'm looking at a woman who understands her man. I'm looking at a woman who understands the situation as it is. As much as you earn more, as much as you have some power in the home, let us agree that the man leads the home, and you will be a greater helper. Let us agree also that these women should not be limited. We should rather encourage them to grow even bigger, because we men, we do need a lot of help in our projects, in our dealings with our fellow men. So I am looking at a strong woman coming out of this. I'm looking at a loving woman, one who understands submission does not mean weakness. It just puts you in a position to influence it from a different position. So that's the kind of woman I'm looking at.
Okay. And Mike, man's companion, what are your thoughts after the pandemic?
You know, for me, I'm not even looking at it in terms of a man or a woman. I'm just looking at it in terms of us as a society in general, for both men and women. I just hope that people who, you know, when we emerge from this pandemic, each one of us will learn to, you know, cut each other a bit of slack. Each of us will learn to support each other a bit more. Each of us will learn ourselves a bit better. We'll become more self-aware and learn what our shortcomings are. And now our shortcomings take, you know, energy and, you know, sort of oversteps our boundaries. We'll begin to learn how we can just live together better as men and women. So those are the reflections that I hope that this time of COVID will help us begin to come to, and that we will, you know, emerge from this having learned those lessons and just willing to do better to see, you know, a better future for ourselves.
Okay, Modoni, let me pick up from Mike's lessons. What lessons have we learned in the pandemic that we need to carry forward, and also man's companion?
I think we need to, I think we will look at the importance of time. That sometimes the time is a resource that can be misused. And if we did not take this time, or do not take this time that we are confined or we're staying together to better our relationships, you might not have that time at all. In view of the fact that the pandemic was something that hit us, it was sudden, we did not expect it, therefore we were not prepared for it. But now that it is here with us, what have we done with the time that we have had to, you know, in our relationships, in our families? How have we encouraged cohesion? The discord that was there, how have we tried during this time that we are confined, or we are, you know, in this confined space together? How have we used that time to benefit us as an individual within the home, the family cohesion, and then of course the society and the nation at large?
Okay, thank you, Modoni. And you have the closing thought, Brother Benjamin.
I want to tell women that submitted does not mean subdued. When you're subdued, another person is pressuring you down. When you're submitted, you voluntarily take a supporting position. And I want to ask women to study the man, how he is changing. Staying married, marriage, I always say, is like a motorcycle. It is only stable when it is moving. So don't allow this pandemic to stop When people come together, they date, then they meet. We settled last year. If you settle, you collapse. Don't just settle. Start growing in the same direction now. So study the evolution your money is going through. And if it's on a bend, when I carry you on a motorbike, when I bend, you bend with me. If you don't bend with me, we will fall. So check the bends that is going through. But please spy him on to keep moving, I saw one girl, a wise girl, giving the guy money to pay in the matatu. She didn't want to pay herself. She gave him to pay. Do those kind of small things to help him keep maintaining the illusion of leadership, and even in fact you are the source of force at the point. So that's my encouragement. Can I give my social media?
Yes.
All right, I'm on Benjamin Zulu KE.
Okay.
Right.
And now just before we close, what lessons do you think we need to carry forward from the pandemic in your view?
So stop waiting for this pandemic to end on a day. We wake up, oh, pandemic is over. No, it will be a slow fade and it will be replaced by other challenges. So people are waiting. After pandemic, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you after pandemic. Which day will be able to go? It might have come in a day, but it will go in a slow fade and replaced by other challenges. Before Corona, we had other issues. People forget we had locusts. We had political heat. Kenyans were popular for political bickering. So they have started trying to heat up again now. We are going to have a referendum. We'll be back to other challenges. So please don't wait for life to stop. The only thing that is constant in life is the fight, the struggle. So make yourself flexible, fluid. Don't wait for anything. Keep planning your life. Change the route. If the terrain changes, adjust the route. Don't change the destination.
Now, Benjamin, I love your metaphor. I've never had such a metaphor for marriage, a motorcycle. Like the problem with Boda, it's quite an unstable bike.
And that's even aeroplanes use the same model. They don't use the vehicle model. They use, because that's how they bend. So the thing is, motorcycles, it has only two wheels and it's supposed to have two, the rider and the passenger. Apart from these other people who violate. So don't allow the other parties onto your motorcycle. So the thing is, you need to
only
know,
space for two.
Yes, only him and you. So the thing is, let us know when we are bending and bend with me, and let's keep the speed.
Okay, so Meskeyo, your marriage should be a boda, a proper boda with helmets on. Now, before we go, here are some of your thoughts that you've been sharing with us on our hashtag New Normal in our discussion. Kevin Jogu, you say, it's simple. Many women now are indoors. Men must go out and work. How will they not get the virus? Trying to make their children and wives happy. Okay, asante Kelvin. And Atemi, you say, women have stronger immunity than men. I'd go to every village in Kenya. Widows everywhere. The men have died off. That's what you're saying. Higher than this, Gabriel, you say, in addition, the high mortality rate in men is associated with prevalence. Women have stronger immunity compared to men, okay? And then Kim, these theories aren't clear. Men are producers, women are consumers. Really? Haya, utapata shida nyumbani. Paul Pacho, more men go for the testing than women? Really? Okay, then we have Boaz Ndisi, you say, is it possible that the higher ratio of infections in men than women is due to the fact that there is a higher exposure from the type of jobs that men do, and also that 70% of the households, it is men who have to go out daily to win bread for their families? Nothing to do with being macho. I'm not too sure about your 70% number, but tumekusikia. Nyakwar Nyapunda, you say, I don't trust these outcomes. In taking of samples, at least there should be a day when more women were tested than men. Okay, so doubting the number. All right. Thank you so much. That's all from your comments on our hashtag New Normal. Now, on Monday, we're taking a look at goals, dreams, aspirations, and how they have been dashed by the drastic changes in 2020. Are our dreams and plans still valid? Let's have that chat on Monday starting at 7 a.m. They say that if you said at a job interview what you're going to be in 5 years' time, see ulikuwa umedanganya. Monday, join us for that conversation. Before then, as always, we have a workout session from 6:30 in the morning with our professional trainers who work out from home and give you guidance as you train from the safety of your own house to keep fit, stay slim, and hopefully help to keep this coronavirus at bay. Thank you so much to my panel, Tom Ayeko, who is a youth mentor and a sports coach with the Sitam Church in Buruburu. We're also joined here in the studio by Benjamin Zulu, a counseling psychologist and a life coach, and he's told you where to find him. He lives on social media, utampata huko. Mike Washira, a human rights lawyer and an advocate of equality and social justice, who also joined us via Zoom. Also, my thanks to Mudhoni Gadesha, who is a psychologist, educationist, and actor. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much to my NTV team here for making all this possible, and to you for keeping me company and us over the last 2 hours. So you have yourself a good day, keep safe, enjoy your weekend. Sante sana.
help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
As we take personal responsibility and adhere to all government regulations and guidelines in relation to coronavirus, may we remember that God is faithful. He will not allow us to be pressed